a bunch of homeless people camped out in front of City Hall to, protest the lack of housing options and the fact that the city was not opening up shelters, emergency shelters, during some pretty cold nights. But it really became a political action when Bellingham police rolled in the first night the camp was established and posted notices that they were going to sweep the camp the next morning at 9 a.m. Well, that violates city rules on camps. You are required to give them 5 days notice before you sweep a camp. And so by doing that, they all of a sudden went, okay, this is officially a political protest. And so they kind of set BPD up. As I understand, this is how it worked out. And BPD took the bait, Bellingham Police Department took the bait and turned this thing into a major political action just by violating those rules and basically demonstrating the way they treat homeless people in the city of Bellingham and Whatcom County. And, oh, you're a homeless person, there's something wrong with you, and I don't want to have to see you so that I have to think about why I have these biases against you. And, now they're right in the face of these people. There's nothing they can do about it but try to provide things. And the mayor of Bellingham, Seth Fleetwood, has said that he agrees with the campers that tents are not the solution to this. And so we're on the way to actually getting these pallet shelters. Go to palletshelter.com. I'm not talking about stuff made out of pallets. These are shelters that are prefabricated and break down and fit on a shipping pallet. And they're made in Everett, Washington. So palletshelters.com. An amazing resource and a very inexpensive and effective form of housing people. So there you go.
Right on. Thank you.
All right, so that's the library parking lot. That's the overflow. Yeah, this is where the original camp is, here in front of City Hall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's the library there. That's City Hall right there.
Yep. And this is the camp. As you can see, it actually wraps around City Hall.
Okay.
Now what we'll do here is we'll drive around the block and see the other side. But you can see here that there is an awful lot of people in need staying here right at City Hall. It started out with 4 tents on a Tuesday night.
Okay.
And expanded into what they have now, which I think is about 70 tents. I think there's over 100 people staying there right now.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's great that these young people activist groups, these are not activist groups that know about dealing with homeless issues. It's the BLM people and the students' rights people and stuff. And these young people are taking the lead on this and organizing it. These folks don't have professional counseling skills. They don't have social worker skills. They're just parts of the community that are stepping up to look out after other people. So here we have the other side of the camp out. You can see more tents on this side than there are on the other.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a pretty huge encampment right in front of City Hall, guys.
On City Hall property. I mean, the City Hall is pretty much the host of this endeavor. Yeah.
Okay.
And here's another, you can get another angle here of the parking lot, or the overflow right there.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty intense. It's been going on for almost a month now.
Okay.
And they're still dragging their feet. The money's there. They can buy tiny shelters. There's land. Again, they're waiting to have a partner, a social services partner, which Homes Now is applying to get that certification with the city. Because the city's too gutless to sign and be responsible for these things on their own. They want to be able to have somebody else holding the insurance bag or whatever. But I mean, good grief, the money's there. There's a pandemic. They're COVID testing back there. Here, I'll take you by the camp here that's called Base Camp that the mission is running.
Okay.
And this is the Lighthouse Mission. It's actually the main building's a couple of blocks from my house where you've been staying. But because of the need and the fact that there are so many people in need here in Bellingham, they've expanded this shelter. So this is called base camping. This is run by the mission.
Okay.
It's called the Lighthouse Mission in Bellingham. And
Okay.
again, it's a big facility, but look at that parking lot that they've got fenced off. Think of all the pallet shelters. You can see through the fencing a little bit. There's not much in there but tables and stuff.
Right.
You can put a lot of those pallet shelter tiny homes right there. And they've got a COVID thing. They could quarantine people there. They could do more to separate people. And again, a shelter is a fucking Band-Aid. Gives you a place to sleep, makes it so you can survive another night. But at 7 in the morning, they throw you right back out on the street where all of your demons are, all the predators are. You have no chance of healing. Like Jim Peterson told me on the show years ago, people with houses have doors that lock. And you really need that. You need that place that's your own if you're going to heal and you're going to better yourself and you're going to educate yourself and you're going to get yourself out of that cycle of either drug abuse, mental health issues,
Yes.
you know, all the different things that wind up with people ending up being homeless. You can start to work through that. But if you're trying to guard your shit all night because you're sleeping on the floor in a mission, and, you know, I didn't know that either, being someone who's been housed all my life. I didn't know that. I thought you got a locker. No, you got to sleep on your stuff. And if you don't watch your stuff, someone's going to rip you off in there. And so they're a Band-Aid. And don't get me wrong, they're a much-needed Band-Aid. You know, we have to have these things, but they're not a solution. They're just a stopgap. They're like sticking your finger in the dike, but you're not going to patch the hole. And they're expensive to run. And that's where the Housing First model is far more efficient and gives you better results for a lot less money. And that's why, to my surprise, the main backers of this on the Whatcom County Council are the Republicans.
Really?
Yeah, it's so disappointing. The people I voted for aren't backing this wholeheartedly. They're dragging their feet. Whereas the Republicans, you know, they're a lot of things, but those guys know how to count their pennies. And they looked at this situation and they said, we're not getting anything for all the money we're putting in there. We're not helping people and we're wasting money. And so I'll tell you, folks, when you got the Republicans in Whatcom County, which is a very conservative county, when you've got them saying that,
Wow.
it's time to wake up and pay attention.
Yeah.
Okay, all of these brightly colored, happy little buildings are Unity Village. Look at that. They got Christmas lights and stuff. Every one of those is someone's own place where they've got a door that locks and they've got heat and they've got a place for their stuff. And again, you can see there's a community building there. There's a group kitchen. And they even get a chunk of this community garden that's right located next to them.
Wow.
But look at how colorful that is. I mean, and again, we're housing 22 people that were formerly on the streets for about $1,500 a month.
Total.
Mm-hmm.
So that comes to, somebody was saying something that's like
$70 a person, yeah.
Wow.
And then they ask people to donate 10% of any income they may have.
Okay.
And you can see the porta potties there and the shower truck and all that. And the biggest expense they have there is the porta potties. Cost about $600 a month to service those porta potties. So if they were in a place that had plumbing and flush toilets, you could do it for $900 a month. You know?
Wow.
Yeah. That's after everything is bought and built and put in there. That's just the month-to-month, day-to-day operation cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, you know, considering it costs $31,000 a month to, or $31,000 a year to lock somebody up, one person, and like we were saying, homelessness is still not a crime. Some people might want it to be, but it's not. But there is a effective, low-cost solution. They've even got a 30% rehousing rate, where, you know, a third of the people that go in there move on to being independent and having a place.
Wow.
And to the occasional detractor out there that'll go, yeah, well, you know, 2/3 of them want to stay there. And I would say, What the fuck is wrong with them staying there? They're off the street, they're safe, they're stabilized, they're receiving services, they're forming a community.
Right.
These are human beings. And, you know, that is the cheapest subsidized housing you're going to find for people too. And sure, there's always going to be a group of people that are going to be happy where they're at and doing that. But there's no problem with that, you know? It seems to me that the beginning problem with all these Karens out there that want to bitch about the homeless is that they're living in the woods by their trails and they're pooping on their trails and blah, 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 you know? And it's like, well, help these people find a place to live. And that's what Unity Village is doing. And they're doing it very well. Another thing that is an interesting fact, this is a fact from the Bellingham Police Department, crime statistics, comes from soon-to-be former police chief David Dahl. The crime rate in the neighborhoods where these tiny home communities get placed drops 30%.
Really?
Yeah, and that is because the people in these villages patrol the neighborhood and look out after things. Their eyes on the ground. And so the crime rates drop significantly wherever you put one of these tiny home villages. So, and there's nothing but win-win-win out of this situation. And we've got one in Bellingham, and hopefully we'll get a whole lot more. And that's what that camp out down there in front of City Hall is all about. House these people. And
yes.
They seem to be, you know, that's what they call direct action. You know, that is right in every city and county employee's face when they come into work in the morning. And I think that might help them unharden their hearts, if they are hardened towards this thing.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
There's a camp in Berkeley. First they came for the homeless.
Great, yeah.
And that's been going strong for, God, I think about 4 or 5 years, if not longer. A friend of mine got it started, Mike Zint. He's no longer with us, but he got some really amazing things started. They've helped people get into homes through, you know, they've fed people, they've sheltered people. They fed and sheltered me anytime I go through town. Mm-hmm. You know, yeah, definitely much needed in the community.
Well, yeah, and again, those sort of facilities, even if they're full, they'll give you a blanket, they'll give you a sleeping bag, they'll feed you, they'll help you out.
Yes, and that's what they would do too.
Yeah, like Marcus said today, there's a new guy down at the City Hall camp out that went to base camp, and they're full. Did they help him? Did they give him a blanket? Did they offer him some food? No. They told him to go down to the City Hall camp. Well, guess what? They're hooking him up with a tent and a sleeping bag, and they're feeding him. Like Marcus says, you know, full round bellies and rosy cheeks. We're not talking about Santa Claus. We're talking about human beings that are being fed and feel safe.
Yeah.
That's, you know, it's got to be terrifying to be out there on your own in the elements, especially around here when it's getting cold and wet. And what if you've got a family, you know? And again, solutions that work are right there in front of your face. And it's happening here in Bellingham right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's hope we come out the other side with pallet shelters and lots of tiny home villages all over Whatcom County.
Shit.